And we are recording.
Okay.
Scott Hansen, welcome. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm trying to switch from days to nights right now because I've been working on the ambulance, doing my internship. And yeah, it's hard. So like I woke up like 2 today and I still feel tired. And I have to like switch to days. So my schedule's all screwed up, but it's nice out. It's like 92 here in Redding, chilling in the shade. It's nice.
That's cool for a summer day in Redding, isn't it?
It's unseasonably cool this week. It's gonna be like low 90s all week.
Nice.
So it's good.
Nice. So you have to change to days, or you're deciding to change to days?
Well, it's like, do I stay up all night, all week? Like, I live with my buddy Clint and his brother, and like they work during the day. So like, am I just gonna stay up all night and like watch TV? I guess I could, but it's like it sucks staying up all night. And if you don't have to, then like, why would you do it?
It messes with me big time. The few times that I pulled all-nighters outside of having to do so for a job, which hasn't been that much, but a little bit, it's like going on a drug trip or something. It's like the sun is coming, and like pretty soon before the sunrise, I'm like getting jacked up. I'm like and hearing all the bugs and the birds and the bees and everybody waking up. You're like, this is wild. Like I never see this whole part of life. It's like, that reminds me of a Dio quote. Ronnie James Dio?
No.
So I'm not the biggest metalhead. I'd have to ask my cousin, or the people that are into it are probably curse my name to see how little I understand. But he was the singer for Black Sabbath for either before or after Ozzy. But Ronnie James Dio went on to have a very long and illustrious heavy metal career. He was the vocalist, singer, and so much so that Tenacious D, Jack Black's kind of spoof band, although they fucking rock and they've toured and stuff. They have a song called Pass the Torch, where Dio is passing the torch to them. He's like, and literally it goes like, Dio has rocked for a long, long time. Now it's time for him to pass the torch. But he just passed away. Anyway, why the fuck was I talking about Dio? He had a song.
Some kind of transition from night to day.
Yeah, word up. He has a song, and they're all very mythic, and they're like fantastical, wildebeests and angels kind of shit. And one of the songs that is super epic, especially epic, the line is, "We've lost the rising sun, a final sign." It's dope. It's like an apocalyptic operatic rock song by just like a heavy metal, just friggin' super cool vocalist, and it's talking about how some of the lines from that are dope. It's like, when the magic was strong and true, now the queen lies dark and cold. I don't know, just really cool imagery. Anyway, if you ever get a chance, I'll send you a link to some Ronnie James Dio. Shit rocks super hard. But what are you gonna say?
Yeah,
send it to you right now. Say again.
Send me the link to that Tenacious D song too.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I could probably play it, Aura. But yeah. So you're finishing your I don't know about finishing, but you're doing your internship, right? You finished your clinicals already?
Yeah, done with all the hospital time.
Good for you. How was that?
It was cool. Like just seeing. It was cool.
One sec, Scott.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I'm sorry. Give me a second, my man. What, Nana? I'm trying to do something here.
Turn it off.
I was testing it because I'm gonna sell it to a guy who's interested, but it doesn't work.
I know it doesn't work. It's broken.
All right, so I got the nickels out of there. All right, you need anything?
Why is that moved from here?
Because I'm seeing other ways to set this room up. That goes there. That gives you more space here.
Lean on that.
Okay, well, I'll move it back in a moment. Okay, I'll move this chair out of the way for you. You all right?
Yeah.
You there, man?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So I lost my train of thought. You were talking.
So like the hospital time just like made you able to have a lot of patient contacts. You saw a lot of like big variety of different kinds of patients because it's the ER, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then like you have days in the OR, you have one day in the OR, so you have to like you intubate people, you know, before they go under, and then talk to the anesthesiologist about, you know, how you got to breathe for someone, you know, and like getting rid of the nitrogen in the lungs, or like replacing it with oxygen, you know, and just like where they should be. So like you really get a good idea of like after you intubate someone, like, you know, cool, that's all done, but now you got to breathe for them, and you got to make sure like you're doing a good job. And then, you know, you do a day in labor and delivery. You got to hang out with babies just being born, and like, you know, the one of the babies I had wasn't breathing so well, so like I had to put like CPAP on it, you know, and like it was crazy. And then, you know, just like seeing a lot of stuff you wouldn't usually see. You know, like I've been an EMT for a long time with the Forest Service and stuff, and didn't really see a lot. You know, like maybe some traumas, but like you just don't see the abdominal pain, the chest pain, the shortness of breath. Like, you know, it's crazy. And then, you know, that was only like a month and a half long, so went fast. But now the internship is here. And I just started last week. I just did my first, like, you know, tour. So getting used to, like, actually putting it all together and, you know, having to ask all those questions that, like, you know, you just do in class. But, like, now it's like you actually ask them for a reason. And, yeah, dude, just, like, trying to calm people down that are freaking out and stuff. Like, it's crazy. Sure.
That's a pretty clutch skill set, isn't it?
I mean, it's just like a good skill to have in life in general. Just like walking into an emergency scene and like being the person in charge of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of a lot of skills and awareness and kind of accumulated wisdom all in one, wouldn't you say? Like I would point to the fact that it's like being able to size people up in the room quite quickly to the effectively, and like, all right, who you know needs to be managed, who is like capable such that I could give them something to do, who is going to respect if I like suggest that there's something that they could do to help the team, who do I have to like, you know, who, like, you just end up seeing kind of a lot of information the more, like, wouldn't you say something to the effect of the more scenes that you're on, every subsequent scene you kind of have, you're kind of taking more information, you kind of have more to draw on from. Yeah. That is, you know, more to draw from in terms of your experiences where you're like, okay, like I know this similar thing was the case last time, like I know to look for this, or this person's they coming at me like this, like I've seen people coming at me like this before, it's maybe an indication of that. Yeah, you know, there's something to be said for how just doing the fucking thing, like you know, I think just for some background, if anybody that's listening to this, Scott and myself were in a paramedic training program at College of the Siskiyous together. That's where we met, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we met before the class, did we?
We met somewhere, like probably on the ski hill or something, randomly.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
Passerby type stuff.
Right. And then also, in addition to that, we worked together. We're colleagues together at Mount Shasta Ski Park. I don't know. You did. Yeah, right. That's right. At the ski park as ski patrollers. Did you work at Mount Shasta? You worked at the ambulance service as well, right? We just never worked together on a shift. No. Oh, you did not. You didn't work there. Yeah, I worked there a little bit. You're not missing much. God bless everybody that works there, but that was kind of a shit show. But anyway, yeah, big ups. You know, I think emergency medicine is super rad. I'm still in the industry, and I want to continue forward. I had a real hard time with class for different reasons. Interestingly, though, when I did put my head down and do schooling in high school, did extraordinarily well. Had a 4.3 GPA. You know, I did really well on my SATs.
I believe that. You're hella smart, man.
Well, but you know, it's taught me like the whole thing of being like a smart kid in high school, being like one of the top few GPAs in high school, taught me that the difference between like existential intelligence and the mastery of a task, like the recurring, competently completed, documented nature of mastery of a task. And school just showed me what mastery is. It's just time, You know, I was in the library every day. I didn't indulge in drugs or a social scene in high school. I didn't know, anything about it. I didn't really start dating, in high school. So I just had all of this energy as a young man, growing up, like trying to establish myself, and I put it into sports and I put it in academics. Weirdly, in college, it was like, I have all this freedom, right? And the game wasn't so tight anymore, man. I didn't see the cheese in the maze, so it just went off the rails. And it's been probably a decade to get back to a place where I understand the relevance and the importance of not only like having the talent, but like, working towards and then chiseling out the skill, And so I get it. It's all about
like skill is like something gained from will, I think. So like I always say, like, will before skill. Like if you have the will to do something, you may not have the skill to do it, but if you got the will to do it, the skill will follow. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah, I do.
It takes dedication, and talent, right, is the other thing you mentioned. Talent, you can be the most talented person at something, but if you don't have like the dedication and like pretty much what you said, like trying to master something and like spending that time, and you're not going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? You're going to get passed up by everyone else that does put in the time.
Right.
Even if they're not as talented as you.
That's right. That's right. I mean? Yeah.
That's the way life is. Like, you got to put in the time. No matter what you want, man. It's not just going to be like, boom, welfare check,
Right. Right. I saw hard work eats talent for breakfast. Right.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. The thing that I think is worthy of being mentioned in terms of like a lofty conversation point, as opposed to just speaking from my struggles and shit, because they're not extraordinarily interesting or unique. I think so often you hear people articulating kind of a crisis of purpose. I think a lot of things are happening in the United States where, at once life is getting so good for so many, right? Like nobody's going hungry. Like everybody's got a voice, or at least the potential to have a voice. Like on a certain level, I think it's really scary to say, this is my voice. And then it's like, whoa, wait, I fucked that up, or I fucked this up, or I don't really resonate with that. Maybe I need to change, or like doing that actual like self-actualizing. And I think hard work is a mechanism through which it just happens anyway. But I just think we're having a lot of people, we're having an erosion of the soul of the working class. And I think that may sound super over orated, but to me, I can breathe when I'm in a mountain town. I can breathe when I'm by the ocean. I feel as if I'm doing what I'm meant to do, and I'm simply in a position to help somebody. And I know that that's a phrase that gets bandied about too much, but like we all know when we're helping somebody, like when somebody, whether it's launching a business or building skill, that is to say, making ourselves better so that we can serve others, better, because that is to say, we all know just going straight after money isn't a means to an end. It's a part of the larger picture of, what are we trying to build with that money? And then I think if we have that strong why, that strong directionality towards our inspiration, our motivation, then that just adds fuel to the fire, And I was talking about talking about this with Justin, and I found that for me, the things that keep me on point, that is to say, like the places I'm investing my energy are productive as opposed to counterproductive or destructive, is when, the family's in place, the relationships with the people that I enter into most often are productive, or at least like not bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, and then the other parts of it, right? Just nutrition, fitness, and that just doesn't happen, right? Like, even you can be a billionaire, but you can't pay somebody to do your fucking push-ups for you, right? And then, the professional realm is obviously something to be very sobering, to take stock of what we've done and what we're doing and what our goals are. That being said, I've certainly taken a step backwards in my life. Not to tell my whole life story, but we already talked about my educational kind of path a little bit. But I mean, I've gone from, making big bucks as a salesperson to, just kind of leaving it all behind and ski patrolling in Tahoe to like starting to try to better myself in terms of emergency medicine and just falling flat on my face multiple times, but just picking myself up. Now, I'm in a place where we're just caretaking. We're just trying to keep everybody on the up and up, doing shitty at times, right? I mean, like we all do. But weirdly, like, even though there's kind of a backwards sensibility in a certain sense, I feel really rooted. I feel really grounded. I feel really ready to take on what comes, because it's like I don't have a lot of weaknesses in my game at this point. It's like if and when tragedy befalls me next, right? Because it comes for us all periodically and nonstop. Yeah. I'm ready, and I think that that's been a part of my maturation process. Is like, I'm okay with failing. I just have to keep being okay with trying, and, it's taken me a long time to get here, man. I know it's not going to hurt too bad. Right.
Right. And we're all trying, man. Like that's what it takes. You can never stop trying. And once you do that, that's when your life's gonna go to shit. Like you're always gonna have ups and downs, but when you quit trying, that's when you're screwed.
So let me ask you this: what do you think is a counterpoint to so many of us that, and this is kind of in the same vein of answering where people say like, why do you want to talk to me, or what are you interested in, or what questions are you gonna ask me, what your theme? Well, for me, one of the things that's closest to my heart, at least with respect to what I'd like to share with people and what I'd like to have conversations towards speaking about, is just mental health. It's just being open to, being as intelligent as we can, not being scared of being a little crazy, right? Not being worried about what we're going to say, and such that we can come to higher understandings of things, such that we can have productive discussions and not just argumentation for masturbation, but discussion for higher understanding. So, working on that, and my question to you is, you seem like you have a fairly good directionality to where you put your inspiration. I just saw a post that you and your wife put onto social media on Instagram, and you guys are in Zion National Park, which is correct me if I'm wrong, it's in Utah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, just gorgeous, landscape. And so you have this relationship that you're putting a lot of energy into. You're working really hard in school. You're, learning all these things. You have a sports kind of life as well, right? I saw video of you jumping into waterfalls, which I think is super badass. I love that shit. But again, my question, and talk about this, that if you like, but my question specifically is, I don't know how to prompt you, because I just want you to kind of speak on it, because I'm interested. With respect to the fact that you're quite a motivated individual, you're kind of really willing to, go for what you see as being the most valuable. Where do you get your motivation from? What keeps you inspired? What allows you to not question whether you're going to call in, to the next 12-hour shift, or, where talk a little bit about that place. I'm just super interested. And if anybody watches your videos of hucking off cliffs and, going and doing the snowboarding that you do, and obviously, becoming a medic and being in ski patrol, these are big accomplishments. So I'm curious what keeps you going.
Just, like what keeps me going professionally with like the paramedic, choice is family, man. Just like me and Whitney are, planning on having a family, and like me getting a good fire medic job and working the next 25 years and retiring is like having some stability, like is the best thing for my family. And that makes it easy for me to show up, because I know I'm going to be helping my family, and not only like I'm going to be gaining a skill that can help so many people, and like all the things I've done in my life to lead me to this point taught me that if anyone's going to like show up and handle some shit, like I might as well do it. you know, and like I get all that from having a second chance. Like I should have died, and paramedic saved my life.
Yeah. So will you talk about that a little bit, Scott? I've known you for how many years? 2 years, 2.5 years, and I've only heard you speak about this story in flippant anecdote. So would you mind telling that story?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like I was hanging out with my buddy, and we were taking some pills. I was like 15, and we were taking these things for like 2 days. They're like big old pills, like this big, that had like 4 marks of Cudman Force, and they were like some kind of opiate. I think they were called methadose or something. And we were taking them for like 2 days, and one night before bed, I took a half of one, and I didn't wake up until I was in the ER, and like I'm pretty sure they gave me Narcan is why I woke up. And they're just like, what did you take? What did you take? And then I was like, I don't know. And then I passed back out. And then I woke up in ICU because I aspirated my vomit.
Oh.
So I had like a little bad pneumonia. But I was able to go home in a couple days. And, you know, I just fought it off at home with some antibiotics and stuff.
Right. You were young.
So yeah, after that incident, I was asking myself a lot of questions, you know, like why didn't I die? You know what I mean? Like what made my buddy wake up and, you know, show up right then when I was, you know, aspirating. And it made me feel lucky, you know, it made me feel like I was meant to have that chance. You know, it made me feel really dumb because that happened, you know, and like I put my family through all that heartache and my friends, and like now I had this reputation of being a druggie, you know, so it's like I had to bounce back from that big time, but I just always knew that it was for a purpose, you know. So like believing in yourself and like not being afraid of what other people think is like the best thing I think a person can do, because then it allows you to truly be who you are. And just like having that is going to make you have a better life, because you're not going to be afraid of doing something. Like you're just going to do it. And if you fuck up, like that's okay. And like you should surround yourself with people that don't hound you all the time you mess up. You know what I mean? Like you should surround yourself with people that are like, you know what? Everyone messes up, man. Like get up and try it again. You know, and like people that don't stop when they fall down their first time, like those are the people that are going to be successful. Like you have to have that like purpose of knowing, you know, but a lot of people don't have that. And it's just like, how do you get that? You get that from putting yourself out there and taking chances. That's how you get that. You don't get it from sitting inside playing video games all day. You know what I mean? Like you have to go put yourself in a situation that you tested and see how you do.
Right. And isn't it one of the things that make life worth living when you surprise yourself for the better?
Oh yeah. Yeah, when you're like, I did not believe I could do that. You know what I mean? And you're like, wow,
Yeah.
maybe I am capable of more than I thought I was.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like I could be a negative person at times, and I find myself being negative, and I'm like, why? You know what I mean? Like you have to ask yourself, like, why are you going to be negative about a situation? Because when you are, it makes it so much worse, and it takes so much more energy to be negative than it does just to be happy, you know, and grateful. So, you know, it's just all about experiences, like you said. Like, you know, you walk into that one scene, you might have seen it before in another, so like you have that extra knowledge basis from experience. And the same is with life. Like the more that you experience, the more you're going to be able to handle any situation that you may find yourself in, you know?
Right. So, which is where like the concept of training comes from, drilling specific skills, you know, and there's something beautiful about that. I kind of was trying to construct this idea because I've heard it from a lot of different places, but did you play sports growing up? Did you?
I played a lot of baseball.
Played baseball growing up?
Yeah, about high school, like freshman year, my arm right here, I was a pitcher, and like I just basically had a bunch of scar tissue, my ligament right here. So I had to quit.
Yeah. I know how that is.
I couldn't throw anymore. So then I just became like sportless. I didn't have any sports after that. And then I started snowboarding.
How old were you when you started snowboarding?
I was like a senior.
Okay.
Yeah. I really
Okay.
didn't start until a couple years out of high school, and I had enough money to buy like the whole setup, you know,
Right.
and like get a season pass.
Right.
So
Where'd you get a season pass the first time you started snowboarding?
Tahoe.
So what? Just the Epic Pass or something? Or
Yeah. North Star Heavenly in Kirkwood.
yeah. Kirkwood was already part of the Epic Pass and North Star when you got it.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Wasn't on that long.
And then before that, I would just buy day tickets to Shasta. I'd go
Okay.
like 5 times. I go like 5 times a year, not even.
Right.
Yeah, I really didn't start snowboarding until I lived in Tahoe City, and I had a squaw pass, squaw alpine, and that was in 2014.
Did you climb Shasta this season?
Yeah, me and my buddy Brian went up there like a couple weeks ago. We summited with our split boards.
That's awesome. How was it?
Go down, and like the top part was icy, like kind of by Trinity Chutes.
Okay.
And I had my ice axe out because I knew.
Yeah.
Dude. And like I sure as shit, dude, I like lost my heel edge and I had to freaking rest my ice axe.
Wow.
And I just like made my way down super slowly for like 1,000 feet. Then the snow started getting better. And then by the time we were like Helen Lake area or right above, we were just shredding.
So what time did you leave such that you could summit? How did you do the timing?
So we left at like 4 from Bunny.
Okay.
And we got up there at noon on the summit. So it took us 8 hours, but you know, we weren't in really good shape, like, you know, to do that. We haven't been in the mountains, like I haven't been for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, doing that hospital time for like a month and a half, and like, you know, this ski park season ended months ago.
Right.
Like I went up a few times to split board and stuff, but like I wasn't going often. I was just trying to pass medic school, you know.
Right.
So I've been pretty inactive for the most part. Besides that, and like little runs here and there. I like to do like little 3-mile runs.
Okay, your knees are, you know, you can do the impact of running no problem. You don't notice any
I take fish oil and glucosamine every day.
Cool.
So like that helps a lot with my aching joints.
Sure.
Yeah.
With chondroitin or just glucosamine?
I mean, the chondroitin is like better, it's more expensive. So I just go to Costco and get like the big ass like bottles of fish oil and glucosamine, and they're pretty cheap.
You notice it helps your joints out?
Yeah, it takes a couple weeks for it to kick in.
Yeah.
But like it'll just be like a week and a half later, I'll just be like, oh wow, my knees and elbows don't hurt anymore.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then like I took that stuff for years, like fighting fire too.
Yeah.
And like sometimes like I would not take it for a couple weeks because I like didn't have any in my bag or something and go on a fire. Like the end of the roll, dude, my freaking knees and elbows would start hurting hella bad. So then I'd get home, start taking it again, and then like a week and a half later, I'd be like, all right, cool, my pain's gone. It's like, dude, it works so good. Like if you just eat a lot of fish and stuff or whatever, like omega-3s, like same difference, but like I don't have like a super good diet, and like I don't eat like a portion of fish every day, you know.
Right.
So,
I'm starting to improve my diet for sure. First of all, I have such a fucking fast metabolism. There's no way that I can eat enough to gain weight. I just can't fucking gain weight. See,
have you ever got your thyroid tested? Like,
I think I'm hyperthyroid from what I understand about the thyroid. I'm certainly not hypo. No, I don't know what my numbers are.
TSH levels.
I would love to see what it is.
Just get your blood drawn, dude.
Right. Because my metabolism goes crazy fast. But improving my diet a little bit, taking there's a mushroom supplement called the Stamets 7. Paul Stamets is a mycologist. He's real knowledgeable. One of the kind of the main dudes on the world stage, talking about how great mushrooms are. Yeah. Oh yeah. The mushrooms that you can add to your diet that people do around the world are chaga, reishi, lion's mane. I mean, like crazy good for your body. They're like superfoods, but there's also a class of food called adaptogens. And So it's like whatever your body needs, the food will, you know, fulfill that requirement, you know, because a lot of these foods arguably have like, my understanding is that they have like evolved alongside humans for so long that, you know what I'm saying? Well, like an apple. An apple is extraordinarily nutritious, almost greater than the sum of its parts. Right? It's just much sugar, right? But it's an extraordinarily nourishing food, you know, whole food or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, trying to eat better, doing smoothies a lot, eating a lot of meat.
Staying active. I see you mountain biking and swimming.
Yes, sir. I'm being as active as I can. Just about every day or every other day, I'm putting in a good, you know, trying to like once a week put in like an adventure, like, you know, if it's like stretch, you know, calisthenics, like doing a few like push-ups or something, just getting the blood moving, then like go into the gym and getting like a good workout in, you know, for an hour or something. I do old man shit now. I just do the elliptical. I don't fuck with anything. I just do the elliptical for a long time, and everything starts to like, okay, all right, you know, loosen up and feel strong with less effort. And then been putting some reps in on a 500-meter set of rows, and then kind of started seeing videos and you know, that's a really well respected or like good benchmark. It's like knowing your mile time for a run or something. Like everybody knows their mile time or your 100-meter dash, 500-meter on the row. You know, if you go to a gym and see a row machine, see what time you can put up for a 500-meter dash. It's tough, man. I could do like 2 minutes, or like 1:44. So yeah, that's been.
We used to have a row machine when I worked up at Boise Hell Attack.
Right. And so you know what's
like
up.
Part of our workout, you know.
Sure. What was your times? Do you remember?
Oh, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he kicked my ass though, doing 500. We would do like a 500, then like do a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
And like, dude, yeah, it was hard.
Right, circuit training, high intensity circuit training. That's tough.
Yeah, I'd throw up like pretty often up there.
Right,
like, those guys were ripped, dude. Like they were hella fast, good runners. Like they freaking half of them were smoke jumping like trainees. Like the next year, like 4 of them became smoke jumpers.
Wow.
At Boise, like Boise is like the NIFC headquarters. So National Interagency Fire Center is like right there at the airport at Boise. That's where like their smoke jumpers are, and that's where like our hell attack crew was. So like we were like national stage up there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was legit, dude.
Are smoke jumpers is smoke jumpers one of the most physically demanding arms of the fire service?
Yeah,
it is. What about
like to pass like their rookie program? Like they break you down, dude. Like every day.
I believe it. You know, I get that shit. Like you know, you don't have to explain the value of the psychological approach of that kind of training to me. Like I see it on paper as being valuable, but I was just listening to a podcast, you know, aside from my own experience of being taught like that, let's say, or mentored like that, I was listening to a podcast of Jocko Willink. He's a SEAL, or was a SEAL lead for many years, you know. I don't know if you ever heard of him, Jocko Willink. He's a good inspirational. Yeah, right. He gets up at 4:30 and, you know, fucking grinds every day.
That guy always talks about like making your bed every day and stuff.
Right. That's Jordan Peterson, but you know, he does as well. Same shit. But he was talking about in Hell Week in SEALs, one of the exercises they do, if you could call it an exercise, is have you know, the boat team, each boat team carry their boat on their fucking heads. You know, so you're just fucking trying to carry the weight on your neck, you know, with the goddamn instructors jumping into the drill sergeants or whatever the fuck they are, jumping from boat to boat. And it's just like, and he's going, yeah, you know, because Jocko's a tough motherfucker, and he's talking about accountability and grinding and discipline and hard work and all that good shit. But he, of all people, is like, yeah, it's good that they don't do that shit anymore, because like I remember hearing my neck just crack, click, clack, clack, and he's like, I got a lot of damage during those times, and I struggle with finding my best expression of that dichotomy, because it's polar like anything else, right? Like tough love and intense motivation, and that coach that just kicks your ass and makes you drill until 2 a.m, but then you're the champion, versus like giving somebody the carrot and not the fucking kick in the ass. Yeah, dude, I don't know how good of a decision it is when you're really trying to build a high performance team to just break everyone. I mean, you could argue that that's necessary.
That's the beginning part of the training,
Yeah,
and that's the washout people that aren't up to their standards physically and mentally, because like they want to show,
right,
like we were talking about earlier, like you never know how much you can do until you really give it all your effort, and like that's all they do. They like if you can run like the farthest out of everyone, you're still going to get broken down because you're just going to run farther until you get broken down. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Like they push you to your max, and then they see like how well you can like recover, and then they just keep pushing you, and like just
right,
so like it's kind of like it's all individualized. You're all doing it together, but it's like individualized. And then once you get past that, then you start doing the training, like and like they'll incorporate getting broke down into that as well. But it's just like they want to create the strongest team possible. They're not gonna like try breaking your neck with stupid shit like that. They're just gonna make you do hella push-ups and pull-ups and like shit like that until you throw up and like can't move.
right,
So
right,
they're not gonna try and hurt you. They're not gonna beat you with sticks and shit. But like they're gonna break you down so you become stronger when you rebuild.
right,
And like that's if you want a tough team, you got to do that.
right,
You got to weed out the weak
right.
immediately because they're gonna wear off on other people if they're weak. They're gonna bring down the team.
Right. Weakness is, yeah, I
It's
feel
like cancer.
is contagious, isn't it?
To a
Doubt,
team
fear.
where there's no room for weakness,
Right,
any sort of weakness will create more weakness.
right, right. And I would argue the antithesis, right? Strength is more akin to gentleness, or let's say being metered and conscientious as opposed to being aggressive. The people that are not,
it's all calculated.
you feel me? The people that are that are not afraid, that are not lacking will or lacking in what is meant to be exposed by great trials, are interestingly the most quiet in the room.
Yeah, like speak softly and carry a big stick. Everyone's heard that quote, but it really does make sense. Like someone that's super crazy and loud, like being drunk is one thing. Like you should be crazy and loud when you're drunk. Like I think because that means you're having fun. Who gets drunk and just sits in the corner and doesn't talk? Like that's weird. Like serial killer shit right there. But
I don't know. There's different alcohols dictate different behavior. A 12-year Scotch gets a different set of behaviors than a bottle of fucking.
Yeah, you see this right here? See that scar?
I do see that.
Tequila.
You see this one? I got a Z.
Yep.
Tequila? I don't remember what, but a brick wall and my head.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in a bar fight.
Oh, what happened, dude?
Me and my buddy drank too much tequila, like a lot of it. Like I remember we were just doing like shot after shot after shot after shot after shot. Everyone that we knew was doing shots of tequila with us. And then me and my buddy were dancing around the bar. This was in Kings Beach at the Grid.
Sure.
And we were dancing around the bar, and some dude like didn't like how we were dancing because we were probably like banging into people and stuff. And he's like, "Dude, you just kicked my girlfriend, man." He was this big guy. Dude. He was a big guy, And I was like, "No, I didn't. Like, no. Like, we're just dancing. Like, leave me alone." And then he's like, "No, you're kicked out, man." And like him and this other dude like grabbed me and like pushed me towards the door. I'm like, "Dude, you guys can't kick me out. Like, you don't work here. Like, you're kicked out, dude. For being a dick." So anyway, they throw me outside. So I walk back in the other door. and like, dude, like him and like four of his buddies like walked up to me and just pushed me out of the door and started fighting me. And like my buddy's girlfriend like walked outside and like started like punching people and stuff. And like she kind of like broke it up. And then I like walked over towards my car across the parking lot because I was like getting ready to get out of there. Like I was waiting for my buddy to get out because his girlfriend was outside. Like we were gonna go.
Yeah.
The three of us. And then my buddy comes out and they start fighting him, dude. So then I had to run. I like ran across the parking lot, and that big dude that kicked me out, I just like tackled him, like brought his legs up, and then when we went down, both of us landed on my face on the deck. Just
yeah,
like
I hear you.
boom. I saw stars, dude. Like almost knocked myself out.
There's a UFC fight with I think TJ Dillashaw where he double legs the guy, picks him straight up, and fucking knocks himself out when he lands.
Yep. I was so close, dude, to get knocked out. Like my neck hurt hell bad. Like, dude, it sucked. And like I just had this huge like flap of skin on my forehead, just like bleeding everywhere. But so that ended the fight, and we got out of there right before the cops got there. So like that was a win.
That's good.
But, yeah, it was like my head hurt hell bad, dude. Like that guy was huge.
Ouch. Ouch.
It was like 500 pounds, dude. I don't know, like I'm like almost 200 pounds. Like he was like 250. You know, landing on my head, like getting airborne and landing on my head. So yeah, on like a wood deck. Like that was a pretty hard wood deck because it was frozen. It was all iced over and shit.
Those videos online of people trying to jump into like a pool or a lake and not knowing it's frozen. Just like, boom.
That one video of that Russian dude doing it. He was wearing like black spandex.
Yes. And he's like, I go now. And he's like running and it just jumps. It's like fucking, he's in a tuck for a fucking cannonball.
Cannonball, yeah.
Oh, good.
That dude, that would hurt so bad.
Oh, like, just go through your whole spine, dude. Just up your whole spine. Just like,
I mean, good thing that guy was like ripped, you know?
Oh.
Good thing he was strong because he probably like avoided a serious injury.
Yeah, exactly. You know? No, that's the thing, dude. Remember when I just sent you Ronnie James Dio? I know that's all crazy imagery, but that's Ronnie James Dio. He's the one that sang "I'm the man on the silver mountain." You ever heard that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Dio. Anyway, we were talking about him earlier, so I just sent you those links. But yeah, I forgot what I was talking about.
No, that's all right. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just like kind of, you know, it's a lot of different people out there in the world. Not everyone's gonna get along and stuff, but like everyone has bad days. So like we should just like treat people as if like they're not having maybe such the best day. You know, and be like a little nicer to them than mean. And like that's super good attitude. Like you see that attitude in like little towns and stuff, but then you go to a big city, dude, and everyone's just like ready to fight everyone else all the time. You know what I mean? And like there's there's no like, yeah, hey, what's up, man? You know, how's your day going? It's just like, fuck you, dude. I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna brake check you. I'm gonna like throw trash at you. Like it's just fucked up, dude. And people just litter everywhere too. Like no one.
There's something to be said for what the city is about, you know, in terms of the kind of the shared delusion of city life that we all kind of have to accept as a prerequisite term and condition to entering the, you know, the suburbs and shit. It's about this nebulous idea of a, you know, concept that doesn't exist called the economy, that we have to serve at all costs, and that the quicker it expands, the faster it grows, the better. And fuck you if you're not helping. And if you're not helping, at least get the fuck out of the way. And nobody cares if you're, you know, on your last breath. If you're on the goddamn sidewalk and people got to get to their fucking desk to, you know, process data, then you know, roll the fuck over. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I really struggle with it. You know, I find a great deal of space. You know, Justin and I were talking about the concept, and I think it's easily enough transmittable without going into great detail. But the idea of how important just space is, just nothingness, just being able to hold space, being able to be a strong enough individual to like protect an area. I asked you earlier if you had done sports as a youngster, and I think one of the the real important things to communicate to people that sports as a young age does, you know, and I've really had a hard time with this, that is the really important nature of kind of mentorship and a constructive teacher-student relationship, and how to enter into being a student in a righteous way, you know, like bowing in them as you come onto the mat and stuff, and that, you know, being a learning entity is not being less than, you know, the teacher. It's entering into this kind of reciprocal relationship, and then like the duty of becoming a teacher once you're at a certain level of acumen, and that is not, you know, an if, it's a necessary second step to like learning something. Then to have to give that to somebody is like a lot of responsibility. So like for me, I enter into that process really organically when I'm outside, when I'm doing the shit that I like, when I'm on a mountain bike, when I'm on my surfboard, because every bit of the behavior around doing those sports, those pursuits, and even like gardening, dude, like farming, you know, like as silly as that sounds, because I'm certainly not any kind of industrial farmer, but just getting a little backyard garden, and you know, you gotta fucking learn some shit if you're gonna grow something effectively. Like it's easy to go through the motions. It's a whole other thing entirely to honor a process. You know, I'm not like a fisherman, but you know, fishing comes to mind as one of these things that becomes more intricate as you enter into it. So like, yeah, I'm trying to find out how to kind of honor the things that I know give me life: skiing, surfing, you know, staying fit. We went to the driving range today. I took Grandpa. That was a real neat thing, because you know, it's all in the vein of honoring both the pursuit, but then the people that have done it for longer and everything like this, and the kind of the community of it. I was talking to friends that I was mountain biking with about kind of the importance of the mountain biking community. Same thing you could be said about the skiing community, but yeah, I took my grandpa out. You know, he got a chance to kind of give me some pointers, right, and act as coach. And he was the one that had shown my dad golf firstly, and my dad lives on a golf course, you know, so to be able to kind of go full circle with that, and at the end of the day, the thesis is as unprofound as possible, but yet, you know, it's enough, and that is just the simple act of making good contact with a golf ball for nothing, for no reward, for no award, simply for like the joy of having done something well, you know, and then hopefully the opportunity to share that is a beautiful thing. And like it's taxing, and it's, you know, it's a stressful thing to grapple with, because I see that it's almost a selfish endeavor to feel like I want to put energy towards something that is inherently for my own good. But I recognize that's a starting point for being able to be a good enough person in my own life, such that I can effectively, you know, conduct myself professionally. Like I personally, on a personal level, carry a lot of defensiveness. I have a short fuse and everything like that. I'm more so on the you know, manic side of the personality distribution. So something that I've noticed that's really helpful for me in managing myself, let's say, is finding out how to redline when I can get away with it, whether it's just smacking golf balls or in the pool, and then being able to not have that need to redline in circumstances there where I know that that's going to be destructive. And that's been a real stumbling block for me. And I can't speak to anybody else's experience, but I can certainly talk about it from every angle for me. But just bringing it full circle, like, you know, I think that part of the psyche is like integrated in people that are professionally very successful, unless you're like an outlier, like Jobs or something, where, you know, they kind of just, I mean, I don't know, maybe if that's justifiable, but in any case, I think being integrated physically, being physically fit, is a real prerequisite for mental fitness, for mental toughness, for the ability to control one's own intention and will. And of course, that's an incredibly large part of the constituent elements necessary for professional success, you know? And I heard something interesting earlier when I was just reading around on LinkedIn. Indian diplomat, I think, and he said something to the, or maybe he was a business leader, and he goes, you got a lot of balls that we're juggling in life, right? We've got our relationships with people close to us. We've got, our agreements, that we've made with people in the world. We've got, the people that we're responsible for, the younger people in our families or our children, or, we've got our professional life, we've got our job, we've got our job prospects, we've got our income, we've got our debt, and I saw a really interesting thing, and it said, they're not all the same material, the like family one, the like partner one, those are glass.
Yeah.
The professional one, the fitness one, to a point, right? Those are tennis balls, and I'm not a young buck, like I'm 33 years old, but I'm still young enough to feel that as long as I hold myself to a fairly high standard on as many different verticals as possible and just take it day by day, that, it ain't over yet, nobody's waving the checkered flag at my ass, and that helps me to not get in my own way, to not be a real stumbling block for myself. And I'll know how to do that, right? I can spin that yarn real fast, right?
Always. And that's everyone, dude. Like, everyone wants to blame somebody else or something else for them not doing something. And it's excuses that they're making that are hindering themselves. Like, so it's not like, well, yeah, you're going to disappoint your coworkers and your boss and your family because you don't say you're not going to do the things you said you're going to do. But you're also hurting yourself because you're not doing the things you said you're going to do, because you said you're going to do it because you wanted to do it. But some reason you made an excuse not to. Right. And the more you just do it and do the things, live up to your word, the better, like, it's just going to make your life eventually. It's not going to make it better like today or next week, but like, in a half a year, in 2 years, like, you're going to start seeing that stuff come full circle, and like, that's a good reward in itself, just to like do the things you said you're going to do.
Right. I don't know if you know, but I'm in NMETC. I'm in the online medic program for Massachusetts online program. Starts in September. I am almost done with the anatomy and physiology course as a prerequisite.
For the third time.
For the third time. Third time's a charm. That's
You're
what they say.
killing it.
I've got like 98% on the anatomy and physiology quizzes and tests cumulatively. But as you well know, I have less of an issue with, testing and vocab and these kinds of things as I do with managing my own ego. I heard a great quote recently. I wrote it on Facebook. I just thought it was cute to not, too cute not to share. And that was like, a wise man constantly battles his own ego. A wicked man constantly battles everybody else's. And I was like, whoa, that's heavy. And that is definitely fair, because I know when I'm constantly at the doors of, my darker self, if you will, like keeping that shit closed, I do better in almost every avenue. I'm able to make myself more clearly understood quicker with less energy. And that's often one of the most frustrating things in my life in terms of interacting with other people, just not getting my fucking thought across, not feeling like I could communicate my real nuanced perspective, because, and that's one rabbit hole to go down with the evolution of our psyches, given the nature of social media and shit, and why these long form things are so cool, because they're an antithesis to that. But aside from that, I recognize how to do it. I recognize how to hold space. I can be honest with myself now after 32, full years of life and all the, trauma and lessons that's come with it, that there's no easy way out, right? There's nobody waiting to do my push-ups for me. Yeah, shit sucks, right? Yeah, failure's a bitch, but, success is always a waiting and how can you say, ever-present possibility. you know, like victory, like total victory, like epic and honorable, righteous, vindicating success and glory, and not to vindicate the ego, but to show that, you know, that hurt part of all of us, right? That true, you know, victim, not victim in the cheap sense of, you know, life's so hard, somebody called me a name, you know, I need a safe space on the university, but the victim in the sense that, like, life is full of suffering and we all have loss and true fear, you know, terror. So the realization that that person, that broken and abused self that we all have at a certain level, you know, however, you know, broken or healed he or she may be inside of all of us, that person can win. Like, that person can stand on the top, you know, place in the podium and be cheered on by everybody around us. And I think that kind of in a symbolic sense is what I have to always kind of keep as a reference point for the necessary act of working hard every day. Because working hard every day in the face of, like, the seductive quality of immediate pleasure, immediate gratification, what do they call it, instant gratification, takes a fortitude that's kind of being bred out of us, isn't it? You know, a mental fortitude, right? That thing that kids in, like, the 50s or whatever, 40s and 50s all got because they were just playing in the fucking, you know, roots of the trees and climbing and, you know, tripping over the fucking barbed wire shit that kids in the, you know, the 2000s and 2010s or whatever aren't getting. You know, I've seen my nephew, God bless him, just be raised inside of a, you know, an apartment his entire life. He knows an iPad better than he knows, you know, a plot of soil, you know, in a garden.
Yeah, dude, it's you know, we're evolving with technology, and, you know, it may not be the best thing for humans to do that. I mean, but who's to say what's right and what's wrong? Because all we have is our perspective so far. We don't know what's going to happen in 100 years with technology. It could be amazing.
Why do you think that we're all so darn fixed on the particular trajectory that we're taking
of technology?
Yeah, isn't it a weird thing?
I have no idea. We should be more fixated on nature and how beautiful the earth is, because we cannot recreate earth no matter how much technology we have. Right. We might be able to go to a different earth or planet, you know, we'll get some badass rockets and we'll fucking shoot people out to some other planet, and we'll live in little space domes because, you know, we're not gonna be able to breathe the atmosphere because
why not?
Right? So, like, we should be focused on how badass this space rock is we're fucking floating on,
right?
And being grateful that we're on it,
right? That's a real, like, yeah, I feel you.
We need to like take a step back and be like, all right, yeah, technology is cool, you know, yeah, there's a lot of money in technology, but what's gonna make people happy? You know, because if you're not happy, what is money?
Right.
And that's every person alive, you know what I mean?
Right.
Unless you're an evil, crazy bastard, like, you're going to want to be happy.
Right.
You know?
Right. So one of the things that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're always chasing it, but a lot of us aren't going to get it because they're just chasing the wrong thing. They're chasing something that's not going to make you happy. Like, it's just not going to work.
Right. I was gonna say. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's there's just so much to be said. Like, it's so obvious to me that the things that call to me in the natural world, very specifically surfing and skiing, are just such an endlessly life-giving pursuit, both of them in their own right. In the same way that I honestly think, and it may seem like a non sequitur, but it's really in the same vein, just growing plants, like understanding how a plant grows, you know, like, these are things that I feel that are outside of the self. And so they, you know, through a communion with, you know, growing tomatoes every season or you know, learning how to go to the ocean and ride the waves, in different parts of the year.
Oh, dude, I gotta show you this shirt.
Let's see
I
it.
got this. Clint, my homie Clint bought me this shirt yesterday. We were at the mall. He was like returning some stuff. And I seen this shirt and I had my wallet. So, dude, check this out, bro.
I can't see
You're
it.
gonna love this.
Oh, that's cool. Look at that.
Look at that skeleton, dude.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hanging 10 behind the curl. Sun's going down. Sunset.
Dude.
He's pink. That's
Right.
so cool. That's dope. I like that.
That's like
I like
nice
that a lot.
artwork.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Yeah, I need to keep.
I actually thought of you when I saw it, dude. I'm like, oh, Devin's
uh,
down there surfing all the time, dude. Lucky bum.
Yeah. It's weird though. It's like, how do I come to terms psychologically with my obsession with surfing? I just,
Do it.
you just got to do it. Yeah.
Love
Straight
it.
up. Yeah.
Like,
I feel you. I
You
saw a
gotta
video.
understand that it brings you joy and like it makes you happy, and then you just have to enjoy it even more. That's what you gotta do.
Right. Double down.
And the more you understand it, the more you can love it, and vice versa. The more you love it, the more you can understand it. So that's what you gotta do, man. Do it, love it, understand it.
Right. I'm trying to kind of get my game tight. I just got myself a new board. It's
Nice.
wider and thicker underfoot. It's 1 inch longer than my thruster, which is a real special board to me. I had it made by Buck Noe in Santa Cruz and has my name on it. It's custom for Devin. But it's a small, it's not a huge volume board, so it doesn't paddle very well. So I just got a prefab epoxy board, found it on Craigslist. It's just so much easier to paddle, catches everything. It's not that crazy rail to rail, but I've only surfed it twice. So I want to get the mouth mount and the GoPro so I can just get like a proper perspective of like catching a good set wave at like Davenport or 3 Mile. Because like, I think part of the need that I have, and I don't know, I can't really articulate it very well. I've thought about it a fair amount.
You have to share it.
I have to.
And me and my buddy Clint, dude, like, I don't know if you met Clint. That's who I live with, my homie Clint.
I think I saw him there for a moment, but I don't know. Maybe in passing. I don't remember.
He was up at the ski park a lot, so.
Yeah, I probably saw him. Sure.
Yeah, but like we say the same thing, dude. It's like, super fun to go snowboarding. Like you can even go by yourself, but it's like you're not gonna push yourself like you would if you're riding with someone to share that, to share that super like awesome moment when you like land a cool trick, or like you do a sick little tree tap, or like whatever it is. Like if you're alone, you're like, wow, that was really cool. I wish Clint was here to see that, so it could be even cooler. Like, you know what I mean? And like just feed off each other's energy. And like I see Clint do something super cool. I'm like, oh, awesome. Like then I'm stoked, and then I want to try something fun. Like, but by yourself, it's hard to get like in that same set of like stoke level. It's always a little lower, You have to share things, dude. Like sharing is where it's at,
Yeah.
Like you can get drunk by yourself, but that's not very fun.
Yeah.
But if you get drunk with fun people, like it becomes
next level.
Really fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's crazy fun because it's like it's not additive. It's multiplicative.
Right. Exactly.
The way that the energy works.
Exponential.
Yeah, it's exponential. It's exponential. Yeah, it's fractal, right? Like which in my mind begs the attempted understanding how these states that we're hinting at that exist existentially, right? Like I can be in a hyper, excited, aroused, inebriated state if I have, 2 shots of, everybody's different, but for me it's like 2 shots of tequila. Right? But like, is that me doing something, or is this notion of like channeling or like communing or like,
Oh no, I think you're using a completely different part of your brain when you're in those states.
Yeah,
flow state. Obviously, you're familiar with. Right. Like when you're in flow state, you're literally using like a part of your brain that you don't use normally.
Right.
You're using more of your brain than you would be if you weren't in flow state.
Right. We had this discussion earlier when we were going on, before we went on a bike ride. I don't know if you remember, and I think you're right on the money. And that was, we were talking about the benefits of psilocybin mushrooms. And I had heard from people who are, really deep in the game or deep in the research community, let's say, describing how psilocybin is so beneficial, and same with the MDMA is so beneficial in terms of, I mean, work slightly differently, but psilocybin specifically in helping people get over emotional traumas and so forth, because of the fact that if we can accept as a premise going into the discussion of psilocybin that we all navigate the world through, kind of a prefab but ever evolving mental map that we've constructed, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's defensible. Things like psilocybin specifically, but certainly cannabinoids and other of these kind of really, long held beneficial plant medicines really strip that away, really just break down the whole map, break down the whole prefab network of cultured or conditioned responses to stimuli. Exactly. If there's
you're
no,
supposed to be.
Yeah, I feel it. If there's
which
no,
makes no sense when you're like, it makes no sense.
Right.
Like, who am I supposed to be? It's like, well, I'm supposed to be me. And then it's like, okay, well, who am I?
Right. What does that mean? Yeah. What the fuck is me?
It's like you're trying to like rebirth yourself from this pre-notioned like fabrication of you. That's not real.
Right.
It's all fake.
Right. And the people that do that process willingly are, initiated into the mystery of life and go on the hero's journey and become inspirations to us all. The people who have done it many times are, to be heralded as champions and to be learned from, and to be like aware of how the process happens and to do it. Oops, I can't see you.
It's okay. I just have 20% remaining.
No worries. We've already gone for a long time. I just want to get the thought articulated. Like the people that honor the process and then like point the way to that kind of actualized self, development for others are the best people to surround yourself with, right? Are the people that are going to elevate your game, or the people that are going to help you to grow. And it's heavy, right? Like it's a heavy responsibility. First of all, it's the most terrible journey any of us can take, right? Because implicitly it's the facing of our deepest fears,
Yeah.
But it's also a really deeply, I would argue, fulfilling pursuit to become that, teacher for somebody else. I mean, I've done that very less than I'd like in my life, and I look forward to being able to do that more so. But I just think being able to help other people to show themselves what they can do is a pretty special thing, man. And yeah, for me, for whatever reason, the natural world does that for me naturally, and has honestly probably saved my life, honestly, because for the majority of my life intellectually, I felt that I'd had to tear down the evil constructs around me that kind of restricted my freedom of behavior. And the more that I flailed against judgment or critique, the more that I just limited my own sphere of influence and just kind of shook myself into a smaller and smaller holding cell. And now only after, just dying and being rebirthed into, new iterations of myself so many times have I found that the way forward that is sustainable is just the simplest shit, just to be getting in the water, to be listening to my body, to be eating right, and to be
and like sharing simple moments of happiness with
Yes,
others.
sir. Yes, sir.
And like, even if they're not having a happy moment, like giving them a smile, or like, letting them go in front of you in line, or like, these little things that show them like, oh, that was really kind of that person. Maybe I should be more kind, or you know what I mean? Like,
I hear you.
maybe they realize they've been a dickhead, and then they like call their wife or whatever and say, hey, I'm sorry, like, it's like, it does carry on. And just like teaching other people too, like that you don't have to feel bad, you know? It's a choice that you make to feel bad. Like, yeah, like death is a hard thing to handle and you should mourn, and like that's one area where like you're allowed to feel bad, you know? But like anything else, you know, it's like feeling bad is not going to fix it.
Right.
Like you need to make a way for yourself to feel better, and then it will get better.
Right. Right.
You know?
Bill Burr had a good quote. He's like, put your feelings aside, get the shit done, do some man shit.
Yeah.
I can't do it justice, but it was funny.
You know, and like you should have feelings for sure. Like if you didn't have feelings, you would never feel good.
Right.
So
Right.
you need feelings, but you should change the bad feelings to good ones.
Right. 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 And isn't there something to be said for the fact that a simple life kind of does it more effectively than our attempts to, you know, build this kind of constructed utopia? You know, there's something just so purifying about just getting up with the sun, you know, being out in the dirt and grinding and working hard for you know, the group of people that we're a part of. We're just in this weird paradigm where we're in a tribe of 350 million people as opposed to 300, right? And we're trying to navigate that, and we all kind of, I'm sure, have at least, you know, I think we all feel this way in college and stuff, and then kind of get into the real world and have it, you know, kind of beaten or broken out of us. But, you know, lofty ideals and naivete, but you know, idealism and these things that we want to add to the public discourse. But you know, it's one thing to be a part of a tribe of 150 or 300. You know, you can differentiate yourself, you can show your value, you can rise the rank pretty quick. When we're in this tribe of 300 million, it's just like, Jesus, am I just a fucking cog? Like, if I'm not just another brick in the wall, like, what the fuck am I? And what kind of wall is this that's this large? And what's the point of it? And so there's all these weird, you know, big picture questions that I think the more neurotic among us struggle with more than probably we should. And yeah, man, I don't think that I've found a better way out of the neuroticism that comes from grappling with these big questions, like you were talking about the celestial realities of just how absurd our experience of the human condition is when we really start looking at it, right?
Yeah.
The only way out I've found.
Good living situation.
Right.
Be on Earth.
Right. How is it that everything is just so darn perfect? We're just the right distance from the sun. We're in this cycle of the element of water at all different phases, such that we can breathe in its, you know, bubble, and it's just crazy, right? And yeah, I mean, and the only real way that I've felt of communing with the existential realities that are truly transcendent. I mean, you know, one can hold up any false idol they like, even science, but at the end of the road, in any pursuit of the deepest understandings, there's just the mystery. And for whatever reason, I find the answer is simply flowing with it. And the best darn ways that I've found to do so, among other, let's say, less prime, are surfing and skiing. And really, honest to God, communicating, conversation, friendship, dialogue. I've always been an extremely verbal person. You ask if I'm hyperthyroid. I've always been the kind of person where if anything, the way that I perform less than ideally is in the way that I have too much information coming into my brain at any one time. You know, I've certainly never been accused of being, or at least for long periods of time, dull or uninteresting or lethargic or sluggish or lazy. It's quite the opposite, which is no less right, you know, no more righteous, you know, manic and over bearing or you know, domineering or argumentative. And so how to manage, you know, a behavior pattern or a set of behaviors that have been destructive in my life, weirdly, and it's not, you know, so codified into like a religion or any kind of spirituality that I could package and give to people, other than, you know, if I'm really taking seriously my own thoughts, because of course I'm trying to express that these pursuits are the way that I come to grips with it all, if you will, is just being on water, being in water, being around water. And so there is this real spiritual relevance, spiritual sense,
Yeah.
you know, central reality of water.
When we are in nature, we are most happy. And when we are in water,
right,
we can really feel nature then, because it's surrounding us, right?
Right.
Or like when we're skiing or snowboarding on frozen water, like we are doing this super crazy amazing thing, riding mountains on water, you know, and we're feeling that
Right.
too.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
like dropping off a cliff or something and landing in a giant powder field is like the most amazing feeling of just like landing in pillows, right?
Right.
Or like swimming through the water and diving and like, you know, surfing or whatever, like cliff jumping, like just having water is like the most awesome thing ever.
Right. I'm not sure to what degree my, you know, fervent agreement with you comes from the fact that I grew up with a pool in my backyard as a little kid, or, you know, or the fact that I'm a June baby and I'm like a water kid, or, you know, that this is just the way the human condition is, you know. But I certainly recognize that fact that it's like, you keep me out of the water, you know, if my only contact with the water is the goddamn sink in the shower, you know, for 2, 3, 4 days, I start kind of twitching, you know. But by the same token, when I go and be in salt water for a little while, I'm, you know, I'm Mr. fucking centered, you know. I'm able to balance the force for a little while around me, you know, and that's a great joy of mine. And it's a great stumbling block and you know, humbling process to watch myself fill up with anxiety after surfing slowly, you know, and kind of lose my own propensity for grace. And you know, trippily, you know, in a trippy enough way, every time I get into the pool to swim, you know, or get into the ocean to surf, or in the lake, you know, or river or whatever, grace is an ever-present reality that, to whatever degree I'm like capable of doing or you know, able to do at the time, I try, or I like to try to embody. And what a fucking weird thing to try to come to grips with, that there's this element, there's this molecule on this planet that resets us. I would argue that puts us back in tune. If you give yourself to the idea that the body is somehow a musically relevant entity, you know, it's kind of the chakra system and things are built on, right? I talked to a chiropractor and ortho not long ago, and they explained, and it makes sense, but I never thought about it, that every vertebrae is just slightly of a larger or smaller size, you know, going up or down, and as such, they all give off a slightly different pitch, right? That's a weird thing to think through, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So yeah, like water, man. So I find that the degree to which I can, you know, honor water, it just sounds so woo woo and just esoteric and stupid that it's like I struggle with it, but I know it to be true.
So simple of a thought, because you're like, water, okay.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than, it's going back to the fact we're on a freaking floating rock in space.
Yeah.
And water is part of it.
Yeah. And
without water, we wouldn't be here. So it's we're like 70% water in our bodies. Like, we are water. So
and we're hyper intelligent, you know, digitally connected. Yeah, meat skeletons, you know, with this just pharmacopoeia of compounds, right? Just moving through this just crazy, you know, complex system of interconnected and symbiotically living, you know, organ systems, right? It's like, what the fuck is going on? You ever thought about emergent properties, or the science of emergence? You ever heard that? when I started kind of just like really trying to expand my mind, I suppose when I first started trying to do hallucinogens in college, I tried to see how deep into the existential mystery of the human condition I could go. What were the wildest theories that I could find that I actually thought were real? Beyond just like cosmology or like talking about the Big Bang, which is always wonderful, but like I wanted something that I could sink my teeth into because I wanted to like mind fuck myself before I like became an adult, right? Well, one of the best ones that I ever came across, and this is one of the great stamps that you can put on any idea, right? Einstein talked about it, and that being emergence or emergent properties. And the theory is simple, and I've certainly seen it, and anybody sees it, I suppose, everywhere. That is the idea of enough agents, enough things, enough, call it whatever you want, acting by a set of simple rules, if you like, in close proximity to one another, relatively, another order of complexity arises in terms of the intention or the shared goal of each constituent element.
So
That
progression, basically.
Yeah, but in an abstraction of dimension. So, for example, you've got chemistry, right? Then you've got biochemistry, right? Then you got biology. Then you've got like what the prokaryotic cell. Then you've got the eukaryotic cell. Then you've got a colony of algae, right? Just several eukaryotic cells living together. You know all this shit, obviously, but just the idea that this can happen and does happen just by way of the natural order of things is a mind fuck. So now you got a bunch of just cells working together as tissue. Then we can have an organ formed from the tissue finding itself, right? Then you got an organ system. Then you got an organism. Then you got an organization. And it's like, what is an organization? Well, it's all the things underneath that. It's all the cells in all the bodies working together. But then the mindfuck becomes, well, how do the cells know that they're going to be, creating an autonomous body, or, what we perceive in reductionist, ways of looking at things as being an autonomous body? How do we know that there's going to be another body? Well, then this idea from an intellectual standpoint is presented of faith, of this idea of a blind movement towards something with the ability to arouse an utter level of conviction. But that just can't be reasoned to from an atheist, perspective intellectually. So what the fuck is that? What is the propensity of things to become more complex just naturally, right? You got a fish and a school of fish, a bird and a flock of birds, and it's just great dance. And I'm intrigued by that. And I think that I find that, I find that synchronicity in my life. I find that feeling of being in the great dance. I find that place of greatest growth when I, obviously get out of my own way, but when I don't know, fall more fully into myself, when I'm too much ahead of myself, and by the same token, rise up to the bridge of myself and the communion with what's going on outside of myself when I'm too far resigned to, introspection or neuroticism, dealing with the past. Michael Phelps said it great recently. I was listening to a conversation he was having with Tony Robbins, and he said that a great thing that he had heard from a friend of his that resonated with him and bounced around in his brain was, if we have one foot in the future and one foot in the past, we're pissing in the present. Now, we've all heard some fucking rendition of that, but I just thought that was a super cool way of saying it. And yeah, man, want to be able to be raw with myself such that I can integrate what energy I have that is counterproductive more fully and then do better, because my struggle has been more regularly with staying on point on task as opposed to succeeding at any one task. And that's a demon that I've had to deal with just like anybody else's. So I very much appreciate you taking the time and sharing some ideas with me, because I think doing whatever it is that we're doing for me is an extremely healing process, because it's a window into that place that is outside of either of us having the conversation. It's a honoring of that place in which our two lives meet, and then the bar that I hold myself is that sharing this is something that I'm okay with, that I can enter into these conversations knowing that I'll probably babble, I'll probably sound like a fucking lunatic, I'll probably share some parts of myself that are not the most flattering or well positioned or whatever the fuck, but that I also respect myself well enough to be okay with that, and then I can get better. And so
it's about being real with yourself.
Yes, sir.
And having the courage not to care what anyone else thinks.
Right.
And when you reach that point, like, you are gonna be happy.
Right.
Like that makes you happy. It makes you okay with being you. Not who you're supposed to be, like we talked about earlier, but who you are. And you're always working on that, but but it makes you happy being in the presence, living like that. Right. Respecting the process.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. I think the thing that is continuing to keep me on, the path, if you like, as silly of a phrase as that can be at times, is the friendships, and the inspiration that comes from being open and honest, and then I would argue inspired by the people around us that elevate our game or give us something to shoot for, or show us what's possible, And so I think that that's this great calling that, to whatever small degree I've been able to answer in my life has made me grow, and I think we're then magnetized to people that are doing that in similar ways, or certainly in better ways, in our lives. The reason why it's so important, I feel, in the same way that we've kind of talked about earlier, is that I know that me being better is not just for me. It's for all the people around me that I care about. It's my ability to treat my wife well. It's my ability to honor my elders and treat them the way that they've, obviously earned and deserved to be treated, after giving so much of themselves. It's the degree to which I can, help my community, right? And make that person's day at the, bagel shop or whatever the fuck it is. And, I think learning that as a young man for me has really, really helped me. And I encourage all of us to do it to the best of our ability, because there is this real interconnectedness, right? There is this ether, there is this transmittable, this medium that transmits everything in between us. And so I think we all feel it when the people around us, elevate or descend. And so, cheers to taking this time and sharing a little bit of your own, space and what you're going through in your journey or whatever, such that then hopefully, as we continue to do these things, so Tristan, who I had my first conversation with, we're going to do a second one. Justin, who I talked to 2 days ago or yesterday, we're going to do a second one. I hope to have another conversation with you.
I'm down.
I think that this is, when it's all said and done, at least I would hope so, going to be something for whomever and as many other individuals as it can find. If for no other reason than just to be a cataloging of real shit that just exists so that when somebody down the road from right now is having these same questions or these same struggles come up, right, that they at least just have some more content to pull from that's real, right? Like we're not selling anything. We're not trying to be somebody.
We're selling Route 9.
Oh, are we? We're selling Route 9? Is this what we're selling? Well, tell us about Route 9, CoQ10.
Yeah, so it's got caffeine from green tea, not a whole lot. It's CoQ10, a lot of vitamins. This one, they have 2 flavors. This one and like a red flavor. The red flavor actually has like AC Flame potassium sweetener, so I don't drink it. But this one's sweetened with just stevia.
Okay.
So it's like, and it's all good stuff. I mean, it's got carbonated water, citric acid, Korean red ginseng. It's got 500 milligrams of Korean red ginseng, green tea extract, vitamin C, CoQ10, vitamin B3, calcium, vitamin B5, vitamin B6, vitamin B1, vitamin B2, vitamin B12.
Nice.
And I drink this stuff all the time. I just like order cases. So if you're interested, find them on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. drinkroute9.com.
There you go, right there. Okay. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I need
Let's do it again.
I would like that very much. Super proud of you. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Keep on doing what you're doing and do it as good as you can. Know that I look up to you. I think everybody else that's in the same game that understands the difficulty of what you're doing respects you and looks up to you. So good on you. And
man, you too.
I appreciate that.
You'll kill this program.
I appreciate you saying that. And I got to be honest, I'm a little jealous that you summited Shasta this year, but I know my time will come. But let's do something fun sometime. I don't think you're a big golfer. I don't know if you have a mountain bike, but let me know if you're in the Tahoe area or something, and that we can go get an adventure, because I'd love to do something fun like that with you. So I don't know what's clever, but
definitely, yeah. I'll be moving to Tahoe area once I'm done my internship.
Okay.
So hopefully be in Truckee. That's the plan. We'll see, but I'm just gonna be permanently living in that area, trying to get on fire department. So.
Right on.
The Sierras are always a nice place to meet up. Right.
I got my swim coming up next weekend. I do my second open water swim this summer. They shortened the one that happened in June. Usually I rather now I'm doing the 2.4 mile swim, but they shortened them all. They cut them all in half because it was so cold in Tahoe. Oh, hi, the dodo.
Molly.
Hi, Molly. Hi, Molly. Can you whip?
Giant schnauzer.
Oh, hi, Molly. I grew up to 2 miniature schnauzers years ago named Machen and Max. Molly is a big one. Hi, Molly.
She's giant. She only has 3 legs.
Just 3 legs?
Yeah, one of them ran over by a truck, so they had to amputate it.
Oh, well, you go and play with that dog, dude. That's important. All right, bro. Thank you very much for the time, and I really appreciate it. And hit me up when is a good time for you next, and we'll make it happen, dude.
Yeah, we could talk again. Not on this as well.
Right on. Later, brother.